While I've been making Inuyasha content, I have rewatched the movies more than I would like to admit, and I noticed something really awesome while doing so, and it's a reflection of one of my favorite bits of Japanese history. So, with that being said, let's talk about the secret theme behind the Inuyasha movies. If you're excited for this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I think something like 90% of my viewers aren't subscribed, and I am pumping out at least a video a day, so I would really love it if you guys could hit that bell and show some support. With that being said, let's get into it. So before we get into the actual link to Japanese culture, I'm going to quickly discuss the important elements of the movies that are relevant to this theory. In many cases, it'll be an extremely simplified version, but it should get the gist across. So in the first movie, Affections Touching Across Time, we meet Menomaru. Menomaru is from an extremely powerful line of demons who would absorb the power of their ancestors and transform into Lord Hyuga. Like I said, this is obviously an extreme simplification, but I don't want to ruin too much of the movie for those who haven't seen it. The important thing is that he's a powerful demon who's considered a lord for a powerful and continuing bloodline. On to the second movie, The Castle Beyond the Looking Glass, where the gang battles against Kaguya, a demon who is essentially a deity sealed beyond a mirror. She has some incredible powers which revolve around the mirror as well, and a bunch of other abilities which came from absorbing other people, deities, or demons. Pretty cool story. The third movie, Sword of the Honorable Ruler, follows the story of one of Toga's demonic swords, Sounga. It's released and brought back into the world. The sword grants incredible power at the cost of taking over a person's body if they're wielding it. And finally, we have the fourth movie, Fire on Mystic Island, in which 4 gods are terrorizing an island. Well, it just so happens that each of these 4 gods has a power sphere or gem, which combines together to create one, joining the gods together in the process. These spheres were actually used to seal the power of the gods as well. A priestess named Kanade threw both herself and a comb box which these spheres were kept inside of into the Cauldron of Resonance, essentially binding them onto the island until they found a way to restore their power. So more or less we have a movie which focuses on a royal or noble bloodline, a magical mirror, a sword, and a sphere, or for the purpose of this video, a gem. If you know anything about Japanese mythology or history, or if you've seen Kizaru in One Piece or played Legends of Zelda at all, you may have come across the 3 sacred treasures of Japan, often called the Imperial Regalia. These include the sword Kusanagi no Tsurugi, the mirror Yata no Kagami, and the jewel Yasakani no Magatama. And do you see where I'm going with this? The sword represented valor or courage, and as the title of the movie might suggest, Sounga was wielded by Toga, a honorable and courageous demon who, despite being injured, dove into another battle to fight a powerful opponent so that he could protect the woman he loved and their son. The mirror represented wisdom, and Kaguya had a legend behind her. She was apparently pursued by many suitors in her youth, and her father asked her to choose one. As she didn't really want to get married, she came up with a plan where each suitor would have to complete 5 next to impossible tasks to become her husband. Naturally, they all failed, which, I mean, as far as schemes go, that's pretty wise. And finally, we have the jewel, which symbolizes benevolence. And while the 4 gods themselves were kind of insufferable bastards, with the obvious exception of Turtlebro, the priestess Kanade, who sacrificed herself to steal the gods' powers inside the spheres, was definitely acting out of benevolence, even sacrificing herself for the betterment of her people. And of course, this leads us back to the first movie. Menomaru specifically doesn't use any special sword, although he did try to take the Tetsaiga for a moment. There's no direct reference to a mirror, but Ruri and Hari use the hero's abilities and companions against them, and he was resurrected with a jewel shard, but even in saying that, I don't think the movie really references any of the regalia directly. Instead, I think Menomaru himself, and more specifically Lord Hyuga, is a reference to the regalia being used as a signifier to a new emperor. Whenever a new emperor is set in place in Japan, they're presented with the 3 sacred treasures, and Menomaru was going to be the next Lord Hyuga, after all. It was supposed to be the start of a new age, much like how a new emperor in Japan would signify a new era. This might be further supported when we consider that the regalia was brought to Earth by the Ninigi no Mikoto, the legendary ancestors of the Japanese imperial line, and the idea of a legendary lineage definitely lines up with this movie. But yeah, this was just kind of something fun that I noticed about the movie. The Imperial Regalia are considered some of the most important artifacts in Japan, with the Emperor at the end of World War II even saying to protect them at all costs. There are a lot of games and movies and anime which all reference the regalia, but I really do like this perspective if my theory about the Inuyasha movies was correct, with each aspect of the legends kind of getting their own portrayal in this anime's format. But what do you guys think? Is this a viable theory, or am I reaching at straws? I'd say the Monomaru link is probably the weakest, but I'm pretty happy with it given the reasoning I came up with. If you guys enjoyed this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, but with all that being said, until next time, remember to stay excellent.